Welcome to the sanctuary. I'm Kyle, and I'm here to tell you to never be afraid to step into the pleasure den of the absurd. Now, I'm been trying to do this video now for a little while, and between my allergies kicking in and sneezing and phone calls, let's see if we can get this one done. But in any case, I had an epiphany the other day. I'm like, wow, man, I haven't done any videos yet about Jimi Hendrix, who, I love Jimi Hendrix. And I am such a Jimi Hendrix freak that, I'd love to listen to any recording I can find, especially studio recordings, of which there's plenty. And so anyway, what really sparked this off was a couple weeks ago, I had a visitor here in the sanctuary. My cool cousin Patti was purging some of her CD collection and brought over a whole bunch for me to look through and keep what I wanted. And included in it was this one here. There's no writing on it, but if you're a Jimi Hendrix fan, like we are, you'll know what this is. If you're a casual Jimi Hendrix fan, you should seek it out. It's the first posthumous release, and Jimi died in September 1970. This album was released in March 1971, and it is a great record, and it was very lovingly finished. It really was almost done when Jimi passed away, but there was a few songs that Mitch Mitchell actually redid the drum tracks on. They brought in other people to, like, this guy Buzzy Linhart does vibraphone on the song Drifting. Jimi himself did some of these are his own mixes. Like I say, a lot of this was done, and all his parts on all these tracks were, completed. There's no extra guitar players. If anything, it was just sort of other mixes, and other people brought in backup singers and whatnot. And it's called The Cry of Love. Great album. And I will say this, whereas this album started it all off, right? This is a great bookend, these two albums, where this one, sets the tone for the future of this time period. This one does the same. What great bookends. And I'm going to say something controversial here that a lot of my friends that know me personally and how much of a Jimi Hendrix freak I am, I had, this thought came to me the other day after listening to this record, and I was like, well, if this was the last record we'd ever hear of Jimi Hendrix, I think I'd be happy with that. I mean, as much as I love and appreciate all of the other albums that followed this one, I don't know, this one is just so solid. Nothing else really matches up to it, And so in 1970, Hendrix and his manager at the time, Michael Jeffrey, who gets executive producer credit on this, him and Mike Jeffrey, built one of the greatest recording studios ever, the world famous Electric Lady Studios on 8th Street in New York City. And Jimmy would usually do a lot of his studio work at the record plant in New York City. And they had two working studios, an A studio and a B studio. And Jimmy would end up completing and mixing in his new studio home. And in August of 1970, Electric Lady Studios, when they had their official opening to the public party, at that party they played 4 of the completed tracks that Jimmy had just finished there, and to show everybody what was going on. And you know, this album is solid, man. This is a great record. And I have a personal motto. You know, I'm a Jimi Hendrix freak, but if Billy Cox is playing on it, then that's my favorite Jimi Hendrix. Billy Cox was the bass player who ended up replacing, Noel Redding as part of the band. So while Mitch stayed with Jimmy, in 1970, the 3 of them would tour, and it was called the Cry of Love Tour by the Jimi Hendrix Experience, which was now Jimmy, Billy Cox, and Mitch Mitchell. A great band. I mean, a really, Billy Cox was such a solid bass player that, I mean, it's kind of funny if you ever listen to the tracks where Jimi Hendrix plays bass, like All Along the Watchtower, or Have You Ever Been to Electric Ladyland, or even Gypsy Eyes, you know, stuff from Electric Ladyland. It's, you know, this is what Billy Cox would end up playing, you know, the same type of bass lines. It's very unique. It's not, you know, there really is something to late period Jimi Hendrix's playing, and a lot of it has to do with, yes, the band, but Jimmy's, just the chords he plays on the guitar. I've never heard anybody play like this since. You know, you listen to something like, you know, the late period Hendrix, like Valleys of Neptune, or even, you know, Freedom, or it's just all kinds of stuff that, or even like Nightbird Flying, you know. And it's not even that so much. It's the fact that it's not like Jimmy's like, okay, I'm going to play this guitar part, and then, okay, I'm going to play this one over it. The timbre of the guitar that he's doing, the only other guy I can think of that's close to that type of replication of guitar tones and overdubbing in such a wide harmonic structure is Jimmy Page. And you know, the late period Hendrix really shines on this record. And you know, so it opens with Freedom, you know, and it's, you know, this is, you know, the funk and the R&B, and having you know, Jimmy and the Ghetto Fighters doing backup singing, you know, and this album's real emblematic of, wow, where he was at the time and where it could go. I mean, these songs are great, and some of my favorite Hendrix songs are on this record. Freedom, Drifting, you know, I love Drifting. It's one of my favorite Hendrix tunes, and it's just, you know, Eddie Kramer put in all these backward guitars on there, and it works. I mean, you know, and then they had, I think that was the song that Mitch Mitchell redid the drums on after Jimmy had passed, and they brought in this guy, Buzzy Linhart, to play vibraphone on it, and it works. It's really good. It's like taking Little Wing and like, you know, part two, like, you know, and even bigger and better. Easy Rider, Buddy Miles on drums, Steve Winwood and Chris Wood of Traffic singing backup. It's got some of the most ripping, you know, it's essentially the Band of Gypsies. You know, it's Jimmy, Buddy Miles, and Billy Cox on the rhythm section, and you know, great rocker. You know, that riff. It's kind of funny because he did kind of nick the riff from Noel Redding in one of his songs, but the way he built on it was like, you know, it was Jimmy's. You know, and next is Nightbird Flying, and again, he just, as it goes through, it's just more and more guitars coming on here, and it's just the sound of these guitars all blending together. Like I say, not to take away from Jimi Hendrix, but the only other person I can, you know, compare this type of guitar studio work to is Jimmy Page and Led Zeppelin, or just Jimmy Page in general in the studio. That's what they both did, and so side one ends with a really good blues called My Friend, which is very Dylan-esque in its lyric. I love the lyrics. They're, you know, this album really does showcase Jimmy, you know, at his best. It's really good. And, you know, side two opens with Straight Ahead. And this one actually is probably like my least favorite on the record. It was a live staple. A lot of these songs were played during the 1970 Cry of Love tour, and that was a cool thing too. I like about that late period Hendrix, when he would play, you know, songs that were brand new, hadn't been heard yet, and that they, you know, kind of still working on at times, you know. So we go from Straight Ahead to Astro Man, another one of my favorite songs, where one guitar on one speaker plays the line, the other one answers it on the other speaker, and it all comes together in this great, you know, the way the bass and guitars lock up in these riffs, man, it's really good. And then we have Angel. Wow, I mean, listen to this. What a great song. And you know, there's just something about these songs, man. It's kind of really comes together, and you know, it's, again, you just, the artistry of Hendrix coming to life here, man. And it's, after that, after Angel comes In From the Storm, again, another one of my favorite Jimi Hendrix songs. There's a great live version from live in Maui at the Rainbow Bridge, man. That one rips. And he's got a backup singer, a lady called Emeretta Marks, singing backup on it along with him. And man, it's just so good. I mean, this, you know, Jimmy loved playing in the studio, and you know, a lot of that stuff, man, just can't be replicated on stage, you know, especially his singing and backup singing and all those extra guitars. That's what makes this record, Cry of Love, so good. And it ends with a blues called Belly Button Window, which is just a couple of, it's really simple, him and a couple of guitars, you know, him just doing a loose blues and other sort of funny lyrical play on a child in the womb, you know, looking out through the belly button window. And yeah, so that ends the album. You know, it says produced by Jimi Hendrix, Mitch Mitchell, and Eddie Kramer. And Eddie and Mitch, you know, handled this with love and care and respect, and it shows. Some of these tracks, you know, were mixed by Jimmy and Eddie and Billy Cox as well. And there's a lot of humor on here, beautiful guitars, and it, you know, like I say, if this was the last album you'd ever hear from Jimi Hendrix, I'd be happy with that, because, you know, as much as I love all that's come afterwards, and you know, there's just something about the totality of this album that really is just such a great bookend to his career, you know, such as it was. And so I want to thank my cousin Patti for giving this CD to me and letting me listen to it again, and making me understand, you know, just how much I appreciate this album. I really do love it, and it was a great listen. So more Hendrix videos will be coming. We're gonna have to talk about the whole posthumous history, because a lot of what the Hendrix family has put out when they got control, all those Hendrix fans were well aware of what was released, and there was tracks that were tinkered with, and musicians added and musicians removed, and they wanted to hear the real deal, and we damn near got all of it. There's still a couple of tracks that are elusive, but we'll get into that later. You know, that's another visit. And you're always welcome. The visit here in the sanctuary is where we let the problems of the world stay outside. You know, when you come in here and hang out, you'll forget what's going on, because this is where we celebrate life and living and all the good stuff that goes with it. And if you like this video and you are not yet subscribed, well, subscribe to this channel. I'd really like to build it up, you know, and I'm inspired by many other guys on YouTube who made me want to get in on the fun. So here it is. Subscribe, click the notification bell to get all notifications when a new video pops up. You'll be aware of it. You know, like this video, share it, comment, you know, tell me what some of your favorite songs are from this album. Again, thank you for visiting, and never be afraid to step into the pleasure den of the absurd.